What's good, everybody? Oh, shoot. A little tipsy there. All right, there we go. What's good, everybody? How's it going? Back to school. Little ones are back to school. Well, I know on my side of town, they're in school. I know, like, so, the other side of town, they don't go until, like, Wednesday or some shit. But anyway, it was back to school weekend. Barbershop wasn't as busy as I thought it would be. Maybe it was just a lack of advertisement that we had, discounts on haircuts. But anyway, Friday we were at the shop. Where everybody's cutting, making, we're all eating, making good money, cutting hair, talking to little kids. Getting ready for school, all the necessarily conversations you have as a kid and what you want in a barbershop growing up. I can tell you this, man. I'm sure that most people out there can say you never have any memories of going to see a stylist. You don't have a memories like great clips. You don't have a memory. You know what I mean? You have no memories. But a barbershop, you have a memory because you see men, getting haircuts, talking about real conversations, whether it's about a movie, politics, life and death, God, religion, all that stuff happens in the barbershop. And, when young kids get in there, they see men talking. See men talking, it builds that bond of if you might, and this is, I'm getting somewhere with this. Your father might not be there because a lot of single moms take their kids into a barbershop, and it just blows my mind. It really blows my mind. But I'll get to that later. So we're busy. We're there, and all of a sudden, the power, not the power, but the Wi-Fi goes out. So, it just, we had no music, had nothing playing, and so it was kind of awkward at some moments, because sometimes when the barbers are done having that conversation, and then the client starts to relax, you get in the zone, and sometimes the barbershop just gets quiet, and all you hear is and that's all you hear. It's kind of awkward, you know what I mean? Because then you're thinking, man, it's usually loud. You know what I mean? It's usually, people are conversating, but it was really quiet for the last hour or so. I mean, there was jokes here and there, and when the clients first come in the chair, you talk, you say blah blah, but then I'm saying you get into that zone. So anyway, the day finishes up, and we're done, so we leave. Saturday comes in, everybody's busy, everybody's got clients in their chair, and actually, it was just me and Al at first, and then I said, man, it's too quiet. I'm gonna go get my speaker. So I went, got my speaker, came back, and put the music on, connected my phone, and boom, the music was going. And you know what? Everybody, we're going boom, boom. Everybody's getting it. Everybody, wow, 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 wow. Next, wow, 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 everything. You know what I mean? Having good conversations. Young men getting in the chair, talking to them about the first day of school, talking about what they're gonna do on the playground, what they're gonna learn, are they excited? What girl you gonna chase around the playground? All this kind of stuff, and it's just a good vibe. You get to talk to young men, you get to influence them, and they have questions. You ask, what I mean? It's just amazing. It's an amazing time at a barbershop, and so we're there, we're having a good time, but we still had no internet, and we called them up, and they were like, oh, Monday you can come in. We're closed on Monday, so we were like, damn, and I had two clients, and I had one client with two kids, and they ended up saying, oh, they went to Supercuts or something, because I wasn't working on Sunday. I wasn't gonna work on Sunday. I said Monday and get them, and they go to school they start first day of school is Wednesday. I guess she lives in another area of town. Anyway, she didn't show up, and I was already up because I took my son to school today for his first day, and it was a cool little time. So I was like, well, you know what? They said they're gonna be there from 8 to 12, and I was like, well, I'm already up. So I text the other barber, says, hey, I'll be there at 8. I'll be there and see if they come in. And then the other barber had a client. He said, yeah, well, I can get there at 10, and I'll just, you can leave. You relieve you. I was like, all right, cool. So I ended up going there, right? And the funny thing about it is I'm driving up. I'm like, oh, man, I'll just turn on the TV and watch a movie. Dumb. no internet. You couldn't watch TV. There's smart TV, so you just couldn't watch TV. So there I was on my phone, and I'm on my phone. It's like 8 o'clock. I get there, just walk in, just turn the lights on, and I'm there just scrolling through my phone, watching all of my, internet, TikTok, and Netflix. I watch a little show on Netflix, and then the door opens up, and there's a woman that comes in here just frantic, panicking, like, "Are you open?" I'm like, "No, we're not open." She was like, "Well, it's because I've been going to all these barbershops up and down the road, and they're all closed, and I had just said, let me just try to see if they're in here." And I guess because the lights were on, so you can actually see, the lights, but you can't see if anybody's in the shop, because the curtains kind of cover up. We got black curtains. And I ain't gonna lie, I didn't want to cut. You know what I mean? I was like, no, we're closed. And then she told me she was like, "Please, my son needs a haircut." And then I was like, "All right, you know what? I do it. Yeah, bring him on in." And so he comes in, and the minute I knew this was going to be an awkward cut. Okay, I'm not just an awkward everything. Okay, so she comes in, and she's trying to because her barber he was supposed to cut him on Friday. I guess he had gotten a flat tire and then couldn't make the appointment, so she rescheduled it for Saturday at 9 a.m. He didn't show up until after the appointment or whatever. So then she made an appointment with him on Sunday, and he didn't show up again. So 3 times he didn't show up. And so Monday morning, now reminder, today is the first day of school, and he needs a haircut. The boy needed a haircut, and you know what I mean? So that's, really quick, things just snapping. He was like, "Yeah, let me get him." I was going to say no, but then I was like, "Oh shit, first day of school. Come on, bring him on in here." Like I said, so then he walks in, and he's got an Edgar haircut. You can tell he's got all the hair, and it looked like he ain't had a haircut all summer. 2 months he ain't had a haircut. I bet 2 months he has not had a haircut. And that's another thing, Anyway, let me get to it, right? He hadn't had a haircut. And for those of you who are barbers, you know how frustrating it is to cut an Edgar. Okay? First off, it's the ugliest haircut ever. I like doing them because they're easy, but it's so ugly. And you know what? And the reason why it's tough, and a lot of people are tough on it, is because the client is picky. They are the pickiest clients ever. If you want an Edgar, looking in the mirror, and this is not just the little boy. The little boy, when I asked him his age, he was 11. But kid, like 16, 17-year-old kids, they are the most annoying clients ever. And I'm gonna say that because you guys are, okay? It's always, every time, moving your head. I'm like, man, just wait till I'm freaking done. I'm not saying this kid was like that, because he wasn't. He was really, I could tell he was even like, upset. And his mother was upset, and it was the first day of school. Man's got to go fresh to death on the first day of school, right? I mean, So there I am, I'm cutting his hair, I'm asking him how old he is, 11. He's going into the 6th grade. So mind you, you know what I mean? You're going into 6th grade, your first impressions, you gotta remember 6th grade. You know what I mean? That's your first step into junior high. You got women, your older women in there that are like mature older women, you that adolescence era, and you want to look your best, and so I'm cutting his hair, and and especially a little kid with an Edgar, he's picky too. Like he was like, no, I want to look like this, and there was a time where he was like, I want a little bit straighter and a little more boxy. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, because it already looked that way. And I tapped it, and He's, oh, cool, cool. And then even the mom, she was like, are you going to do something to the back? Because it just look. I said, yeah, I'm not done with the cut, lady. I mean, I just did the fade. Now I cut the top, and now I got to do the sides. I'm going to, you know what I mean? I didn't tell her that, but I was like, yeah, no, I got you. Don't worry. I got you. You're in the right hands, Mom. She was like, oh, okay. And so I'm cutting a little boy's hair, and he's like, I was like, how old are you? He was 11. Like, man, you all right? He was like, yeah. I was like, man, you know what? I said, hey, you're getting a haircut, man. The day's only gonna get better. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're upset that your barber didn't make it on you, but you're getting a haircut, and you're gonna look fresh. I got you, man. All right, cool. So he started talking, and I'm going into 6th grade, and that's when that all snapped. I'm like, oh man, but yeah, I cut it. You know what I mean? So and at the end of the day, he liked the haircut, and mind you, AT&T had not gotten there yet. And Al walks in, and like I didn't expect to cut, so there was no music or anything. So that's why I was trying to conversation, because I didn't want it to get awkward or quiet or whatever. And then Al comes in, and he's like, man, he went to the back, and we were just cutting hair. Like I said, those times you get into that zone. And then he goes, man, I should have brought something to hear or listen to. And I was like, yeah, man, because it's so quiet in here, I can hear his mom's thoughts. And everybody just starts laughing. It's funny. And so whatever. And so I cut hair, and we're done. I clean him up. He looks, he likes it. He's ready to go. I dapped him up, and I said, hey, your mom, she loves you, and she cares a lot about you. She went up and down here, like she said, and she got it done for you. You're gonna go to school with a fresh haircut. You can't get no fresher than that. He was like, yeah, and he said, so I said, hug your mom and tell her you love her. You know what I'm saying? And whatever. Because I'm sure the little boy's, before the little boy, because he doesn't know any better, he was probably like, man, Mom, I can't believe it. He was probably in the frank too, panicking, mad, upset, taking it out on his mom. And I told her, I said, hey, man, your mom made it happen for you, okay? Your mom she said she was driving up and down, so Mom, congratulations, man, congratulations. Mom, hey, got your son, got his haircut. And, of course I said, hey, your barber ever messes up again, call me, here's my card, come see me, and hopefully she'll come and see me, you know what I mean? Because, hey, I didn't have to cut him. You know what I mean? She could be running up and down here. So, I venture to say I'll see her again. She'll come back. She'll be a client of mine. And then, she's done. She leaves. And then I thought, hey, it is hard to be a single mother with boys. And it upsets me to see that. Like I mentioned before, you got single mothers bringing their sons to the barbershop. And that upsets me. Why? I have never, okay, no, I would say, now I wouldn't say never, because when my boys would go with their mom, two times, like, my first two, my ex-wife took them to get their haircut. I've always taken them. Me and my father, we'd always go and we go get a haircut. But at one point, like the mom took my two oldest boys, and they came back with no hair, just buzzed, both of them. I'm like, what are you doing? They needed a haircut. They didn't need that haircut. I said, because she I guess, I don't know, maybe she had them for a while. I don't know. But they came back with these haircuts. I'm like, oh my God. Whatever. And the same thing with my other son. Obviously you can tell I have two baby mamas. But they have no problem. You know what I mean? Whatever. I do for them. Okay, so anyway, and that's what my whole thought process was, and this is why I'm making this, is because single mothers, I salute y'all. I mean, y'all do it. Little boy was probably an asshole to his mom. Oh man, I need a haircut. Blah, blah, blah. He was being mean. Mothers, I'm pretty sure they act like that, right? Let me know. But And where is the dad? And not just for her, but all, like I said, women take their kids to the barbershop. Like, and that's where I keep venturing off, because I always took my boys to the barbershop. Okay. And I remember 2 times that I didn't take them to the barbershop and they came back looking wow. Anyway, fathers, I mean, step your game up. There should be no reason why your son should be going to a barbershop with their mom, at all. Honestly, to me, like, first off, and I'm not saying all barbers are like this, but you know, when women go in the barbershop, I mean, it's got to be awkward to go into a spot where there's nothing but men cutting hair, and it's a little bit easier for the shop that I'm at, because we do have a woman barber in there, so I mean, it's not just a bunch of men yelling, screaming off the top of their lungs, rap, gangster music, talking about hoes and bitches, and like some of these barbershops you walk in, it don't smell like weed. Our barbershop is legit, ran good. We respectful. Our music isn't crazy. We do have sometimes when there's nothing but men in there. Yeah, we'll turn the music up and play a little hip hop, and but we make it comfortable for single women to go in there. Because other shops, with no, but most of these young barbers in there, like, damn, you see baby mama, oh fuck, look at her. I mean, I get it. I've seen it. I've been in barbershops where it's like that, and and just awkward, but. I go, like I said, men, you got to do better. There's so many. I don't know. It just upsets me that men aren't doing things for their kids. Yes, you might not like your baby mama or your ex-wife or whoever she is that you had a baby with, but don't take that out on the kids. She was frantic, panicking, and I could tell she had no help. I know it. And I was at breakfast today, and I had said, I could tell she was a struggling single parent. I saw her car. I saw, she came in kind of like, she worked overnight, but she just looked, like she needs help. I could just tell it. My friend was like, "Well, how do you know she was single? How do you know she was struggling?" And I started telling. I saw her car. You know what I mean? I'm like, pissed me off. And she kind of my friend. She's like, how do you know she was struggling? She got defensive on me, and I'm like, I'm not. I don't know. You know what I mean? I've been a single mom, and I was like, all I'm saying was that she was doing it all by herself. I'm more upset with the father. That's what my thinking was coming from. And I was like, it's not her fault, but it's her dad's fault. I'm like, it's the father's fault. Like, he's obviously not helping him get a haircut. Dads, they shouldn't have had to have done so many appointments. Like, once, like, you first off, you didn't tell me that my appointment was off. It's frustrating me right now. I can't even get my shit across, because it bothers me that much that there's fathers out there that ain't doing their job. Fathers will do their job. Do shit for your kids. Don't have mom do it all while you're out there wilding out, partying, laying with another woman, or whatever. Like, I don't care. There's no reason. You work a lot. Fuck that. Take your kids places. Do things with your kids. And I'm not just talking about to a barbershop. I'm talking about teach them how to plant a plant. Kids like playing in the dirt. Go shoot some basketball with them. Go take them to a barbershop. You know what I mean? The camaraderie in a barbershop teaches a young man a lot. There would probably, if we were to be more involved in a lot of these children's lives that don't have dads in their lives, the world would be a different place. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I'm not going to get into detail on how it would be a different place, but it would be a different place. We'd have more men doing better things for community, for your families, for everything, if men were to be involved in their children's lives. And there's especially a young boy, because a young boy needs a father figure. He cannot be in the house with nothing but women, okay? and I say this with all due respect, but when I hear a woman saying, "Man," that single women are like, "Man, a lot of these men out here act like bitches," you know. Yeah, we do. You know what I'm saying? And I get this is controversy, what I'm gonna say here, because they're raised by you. They're raised by a woman, so they have those sensitive places. And fellas, if you're single, if you're raised by a single mom and you're a real man, I get it. But there's a lot of things that happen that wouldn't happen if the father wasn't around. It was around, okay. And if you were raised by women and you're a man, congratulations. Yeah, it happens. People do good, okay. But anyway, going back to my thing, because I don't want you to think that I hate women or anything like that, because or that just because you were raised by because I know I had this conversation with my other barber. He was raised by a woman. He always tells me that that's not right. That's not true. And I said it might not be true for all people, but it is true for some. A young boy cannot be living in a single with nothing but women. Tendencies start to happen. And in not all instances, I'm not saying, you guys, I know what you're thinking, and you probably think you know what I'm saying, but it needs to change. You know what I mean? Men need to take their kids out. Period. Even if when you're not with your mom, with the parent, with the wife or girlfriend, wherever she is, and you don't have you're out there, making your own family and creating your own family with somebody else, and you forget about this one because you're maintaining this one, bad on you. You need to do both. And that's what this all boils down to, is fathers out there, you need to do better. Okay? I see it all so much. I hear it all so much. I know a lot of single women, and I praise all you single women who are raising young men. Okay? But you can only do so much. You can only do so much. And yes, you might, and yes, they might be an uncle or a grandpa or a male figure, to guide them to that certain area. But, like getting a haircut, like I just saw this lady just panicked. And I was just, I don't know. And that's just an instance, because like I said, there's a bunch of ladies who take their kids to get a haircut. And this is where I'm saying that shouldn't happen. I don't care if you're single, the dad should take them to get a haircut. There's no reason why a woman should take their son to get a haircut at all. That's what that's your job. I mean, since the beginning of time, as far as barbershops go, men took theirs. I'm sorry, but somebody called me and it just went off. So I don't know where I'm at, but men, take your sons to the barbershop. Take them. If you're not gonna do anything, at least do that. Take them to the barbershop. I mean, yeah, you want women to go into the barbershop. I get it. A lot of people want that, but if professional barber, and with a bunch of men, we're talking, man talk sometimes. I mean, when there's women in there, we can't really say what we want to say. We can't, you know what I mean? Just because you just don't talk about certain things, and especially when there's another female barber in there, you don't want to, talk about bad things or anything like that. Just to be out of respect, because women, they're just different. But I guess that damn call threw it all off. I'm sorry, you guys, but I'm done. I just wanted to throw that out there. So just remember to be distinguished, stay distinguished, learn something, don't get in trouble. All right, y'all. Late.